the massive news. Monica, what is it?
Yeah, that's an exciting build-up. Thank you, Frank. Thank you, Arjun, and thanks for having me here. So I'm very excited. I think just a few minutes ago, our announcement crossed the wire. So I'm really excited to share with you a deal we've been working on for some time. So Ripple is acquiring Hidden Road, which is a prime broker. They're a very high-growth prime broker, one of the largest as the non-bank prime brokers, and this is a big deal. It's $1.225 billion.
What does it mean?
Thank you.
What does it mean for Ripple's business? Because you've been on a path to really diversify the business beyond kind of how you started in payments, and there's custody, stable coins now, and so what does this add to the Ripple business?
It's all coming together. So we've talked for a long while about institutional decentralized finance. Many of us here talk about institutions coming into the world of blockchain and DeFi, and this is going to blast that into a new milestone, kind of a new stratosphere. So the idea here is Hidden Road, through its prime broker business, is able to supercharge a lot of what we do. So using Ripple USD, the stable coin, as collateral for all of its prime brokerage services, as well as using XRP Ledger for a lot of its post-trade services. And of course, we've actually known Hidden Road for years because we've been a client of theirs on the payment side to provide FX and those services to payments. So there's many good synergistic opportunities.
In terms of, and we've spoken over the years about the potential for growing institutional adoption of crypto and institutional participation in crypto as well. These kind of acquisitions and some of the push you've made into custodial services and what we see more broadly across the industry, are you seeing now some of that institutional adoption happening?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Hidden Road is a great example too, because they serve TradFi, but a good part of their business is in digital assets. I mean, us being a client of theirs for years, as I mentioned, but many other of they have hundreds of clients, do more than $3 trillion in volume a year. So they've been in this business for a while, and that's, I think, why this made so much sense to them. The CEO and founder, Mark Ashe, is very visionary and really believes in the power and benefits of efficiency, providing 24/7 settlement for things like post and collateral and, as part of trading. So I'm just so excited to see being able to bring hundreds of institutions into the world of blockchain in a pretty seamless way, because now that we're going to be one joined family, we'll be able to kind of click the services together.
Monica, you mentioned the involvement of the Ripple USD stablecoin as well in that. Can you just give us a sense of how that's going to be used as part of this acquisition, and also XRP as well, if at all?
Yeah, so for RLUSD, this is the Ripple US dollar stablecoin, which we just launched it at the end of last year in December. It's now exceeded, I think, 300 million in market cap. It's done $10 billion in trading. So we're off to a strong start, but this is order of magnitude bigger in terms of the volume opportunity, where Hidden Road's doing $3 trillion a year for its clients. So the key use case will be using it as collateral, and I think the unlock there for Hidden Road and its client base is, having it on chain for 24/7 movement and settlement. And then for XRP, so I mentioned that, thinking about their set of services in the prime brokerage business across FX and fixed income, repo, and others, bringing those things onto XRP Ledger. And that'll take some time to kind of, evaluate and create the right integrations for it to come true, but they're totally bought in on it.
Can we just talk a bit about the stablecoin as well? As you mentioned, it's quite young. What do you think is the path to it being able to grow to a size where we see sort of USDC and Tether as well?
I think this is going to help, isn't it? So yeah, I think that the key proposition for the Ripple stablecoin has always been institutional and enterprise first. Now, the reason we launched it was because we do tens of billions of dollars in payment flows through digital assets already. We're already using stablecoins in those flows, and so we have a killer use case within our core business of payments for the stablecoin. This is going to then extend it into more of the capital markets world. So we really have our sights set on use cases for RLUSD that make sense for institutions.
It's that institutional rather than consumer focus where you expect to see the growth.
Yes, that is probably going to be the thing that levers it up into exponential growth. Really key to the success of any kind of token is distribution and liquidity. So of course, we're still really excited about our partnerships with some of the top exchanges like Kraken and Bitstamp to get distribution as well as retail distribution of RLUSD.
Monica, can you just sort of explain where you see the relationship then between what you're doing with the stablecoin and XRP? Because traditionally, it was XRP that was used or used in some of your products in terms of cross-border transactions to make that faster and quicker and for the liquidity, etc. So why can't you just do that with the RUSD rather than requiring XRP at all?
Yeah, so we've always been believers in a multi-chain, multi-token future. And so we think that different tokens and different chains, for that matter, are useful at different times for different use cases. Let's take XRP first. XRP is the native asset to the public blockchain, the XRP ledger. So inherently it has a use case in terms of gas fees, as well as for reserve accounts. So that will always be there, and the more that the ledger is used by more developers, more end users, you see demand for that token going up. In addition, a really novel thing about XRP was, as the ledger was created, it had a decentralized exchange built into it, and so trades within that decentralized exchange that don't have immediate liquidity between them auto-bridge through XRP. So this is where we've talked about it as a real bridge asset. And even beyond the Ripple payments use cases, so within our payments product, by the way, we still do use XRP as well as stablecoins, and it kind of depends on the customer's use case and what's most efficient. I will say, yes, we see a lot of growth within stablecoins for our payments product this year. But as more types of developers build products, either within the XRP Ledger ecosystem or other chains, this DEX feature and using XRP for liquidity will be a bigger and bigger use case.
So we've spoken about Hidden Road, the stablecoin. Another big focus at the moment for Ripple is around tokenization of real-world assets, and this is such a big theme at the moment in the industry. Why is it such a focus at Ripple, and what are some of the things you're doing in this space right now?
Yeah, so and you had mentioned how our strategy has evolved over time from a core focus on payments into new sectors, new use cases. I think what Ripple has always held true from the beginning, or what we've always believed in from the beginning, is that blockchain is a really efficient global rail for financial assets and financial services. So we started with the payments use case, and some of the key things that we built there, like on and off ramps, as well as figuring out how to do digital asset liquidity, are also useful for new types of use cases into the future. And we now see the tokenization of other real-world assets aside from fiat currency, which is what we see with stablecoins, as now kind of hitting this tipping point where we're going beyond the more straightforward use cases like stablecoins and tokenizing money market funds into kind of the next phase of use cases like using these tokenized assets for collateral and such. So I think this is going to be like an important moment for blockchain where we see the capital markets kind of coming more into the picture. What do you think's changed?
You've been in the industry, a long time. What do you think's changed? Because I feel like tokenization has been something that's been spoken about for a very long time. But if you're saying we're at a tipping point at this point, then what have been the big changes?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that maybe there's not ever one specific moment in time that we can mark, but I think the confluence of things that have come together are, one, more regulatory clarity than ever before. So we're here in Paris Blockchain Week. Europe has certainly been a leader with the MiCA construct, creating more clarity for financial institutions to feel comfortable coming into this space. Where MAS in Singapore, there's regulators all around the world who have created clear constructs for institutions to engage. I think there's going to be more clarity coming in the US too. And then two, I think the infrastructure needed around blockchain is also developed quite a bit. Secure custody, that's kind of bank grade, where institutions feel comfortable securing their assets and that kind of thing. That has also matured quite a bit.
How do you plan to make money off of it? Real world asset tokenization. What's going to be kind of the business model around that?
Yeah, so I think, well, across our set of services today, so within payments, I mean, our payments business runs more or less like a traditional payments business. So the value that we're providing to the customers and fees that we that they pay us for the FX service. Within custody, that's another product line we have. It's a SaaS model, and then I think tokenization kind of becomes an extension of that. And as we develop use cases alongside of our customers, I think the monetization, the business model comes into focus.
Monica, you mentioned regulation, not me, so let's talk about the macro for a bit as well, because there's obviously two T's dominating the markets right now, Trump, tariffs. What's the view from the crypto industry right now on what's going on with the president of the US in terms of tariffs and the impact it's had on the markets?
Yes, this is the topic of the moment. Look, I think macroeconomic picture, we, like all of you, like everyone, we are watching and waiting. We're waiting to see how this plays out. Of course, we've seen impact absolutely on the public markets. We've seen impact on crypto markets. In terms of how things are going in the US for the crypto industry, I would say, more friendliness from this administration than we've ever seen before. So, the new guard at the SEC has certainly kind of turned a page on not regulating through enforcement actions, but rather dropping those and creating a clear path for us to move forward. The House and Senate both have stablecoin bills that are progressing, quite a bit. So we're seeing, a lot more openness in the U.S. than we have in the past.
Just want to ask a couple more on sort of markets. Is there a risk at this point that there may be another crypto winter on the horizon, just as we've seen kind of a lot of chaos and volatility in public markets as well? We are seeing the same thing, as you mentioned, in crypto markets too.
I won't throw out a prediction right now. However, I will say there's been many winters. There's been many cold winters. There's also been hot summers in crypto. So, it's an emerging, for the past 10, 15 years, it's been emerging and developing. I do think this point on tipping point for tokenization and institutional adoption is important because it shows we've kind of leveled up in maturity. But it's here to stay. There's, I think the past couple winters we've been through have proven that this technology is, can't put the genie back in the bottle, and it's going to find its way into core financial infrastructure.
And of course, President Trump campaigned on a very pro-crypto message, and we've seen changes already. As you mentioned at the SEC, we've seen the setup of the crypto strategic reserve in the US as well, which underwhelmed some, but was a positive step for many as well. Has the presidency so far in the first 3 months or so lived up to the hype for your industry?
For the crypto industry. I think so. It's the presidency as well as both houses in Congress are leaning more pro crypto innovation and embracing the innovation behind it than they ever have before. And it's not to be unchecked, of course. The stablecoin bills that we're seeing put forward are there to protect consumers, put in safeguards on one-to-one backing, auditing of reserves, things like that that are really important to make sure that these are products that can be safely used out into the wild.
And for Ripple, you've had the sort of SEC issues now pretty much resolved. What does this mean for your business in terms of clarity and being able to invest? I guess this acquisition is kind of underscores the ability now to almost move forward, right?
Yeah, I'm not lying. Certainly a relief to just totally close that chapter and move on. We felt very, very strongly that the judge's decision 2 years ago was the right decision and that it would stand as law of the land. And here we are, it does. So it's just nice to kind of move forward and have that clarity. And certainly, yeah, we're going to continue to make moves to expand the business.
Just as it stands, there's sort of this push, of course, from the White House, in particular around deregulation of various industries, not just crypto, but this deregulation push. At the same time, there is a need for new regulation and clarity for your industry because of these are emerging technologies as well. Do you think there's going to be any kind of tension at all or conflict between those 2 points of view? Or you mentioned earlier you do expect more regulation or more regulatory clarity, at least in the US this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think we are finding the right balance all over the world. I mean, I think there's probably healthy tension there, and we kind of need to put some rules in place and put them into practice to see what wrinkles need to be ironed out. MiCA has been a huge success story. I mean, 27 states coming together and having one harmonized model across Europe is tremendously helpful. And there's, parts of it that would say make, barriers to entry a bit harder for upstarts. So things to learn there. And, I mentioned Singapore earlier. From what I understand, a lot of the central bankers and global regulators are also talking to each other. So I think that collaboration is super important as we're navigating, the future.
And just one more on the US. In terms of the US, do you think it's stablecoins and the current bills going through the legislative process that come to pass first? Do you think that's the big focus for this year?
Yeah, in terms of legislation?
In terms of legislation.
They seem to be farthest along. I know there's also crypto market infrastructure bills in progress. Those do seem to be farther along. Also in the US, I would say another change within this year really is the acceleration of ETFs. I mean, there's been a number filed around XRP, for example. We've seen them for Solana, for, of course, ETH and Bitcoin. And so it's a big deal if, the US, largest global economy, largest capital markets, is a player on the field now.
And for your business, Monica, for Ripple, are you seeing at this point in time, it's still kind of early days in terms of the improving sentiment in the crypto markets in the US, but are you seeing more business requests, acceleration of revenue growth in the US?
Yeah, it almost happened overnight from the election, where the engagement from banks in the US changed. Like it was like a light switch flipped. And so you think of banks who are offering reserve bank services to stablecoin issuers like us, or transaction banking services. If we remember March, the collapse of the S collapse, Silvergate and Signature and whatnot, and that was a systemic risk to the whole industry. And so I think the more banks, the more distribution and that we have of banking infrastructure supporting us, the healthier the crypto economy can be. So definitely have noticed a change in that. The other big change is with SOB 121 going away. So this was the bulletin with the accounting rules that really restricted banks from holding crypto on their balance sheet. We certainly see much more interest in custody as well.
So in terms of sort of your global business, where are you seeing at the moment some of the faster growth? Are there particular regions or countries that have had sort of rules in place for a while where you are seeing a lot of growth happening at the moment?
Yeah, so game on in the US. Here in Europe, with our custody business, this was kind of where it was born. And so we're really proud to work with a lot of the major banks here in Europe, like BBVA and Intesa and SocGen. And so seeing a lot of action here in Europe. And then Asia Pac is probably the growth leader for us on the payments front. I think the stablecoin payments proposition, especially, it's very sticky when you have markets or corridors between, for example, APAC, LATAM, Africa, China. These are areas where there's a high demand to use a USD stable.
We've got a few seconds left, Monica, so I have to ask you this. Brad once said to me when we were talking, the CEO, he once said to me that once the SEC issues are resolved, we'll start talking about an IPO. Where are we on that discussion?
I had absolutely no idea what you were going to say. That kept me on the edge of my seat. IPO. Well, so we bought Hidden Road for $1.25 billion. I think he's also said publicly we have a very healthy, rich balance sheet. And so, I mean, we are definitely a player in M&A right now. We're thinking about ways to, progress our growth in, 1-2 leapfrog kind of steps. And I think IPO makes more sense for a company where you're looking for more liquidity, and that's not our constraint to growth right now. So we're more focused on growing the business as a private company.
And M&A.
And M&A, inorganically and organically.
Fantastic. Monica, thanks so much for all your insights. Wide range of topics. Always appreciate the time. Monica Long, the president of Ripple.
Thank you, Arjun.